Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your boy, Mr. Rose. And DJ, you know what to do. You've been here long enough. You know you gotta fade us all the way out so we can talk to the people. It is Sunday, April 6th. This is episode number 185. And boy, oh boy, how have you been? How have you been? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You know, today's a good day. It was one of those days where, man, I just relaxed. I relaxed, was in bed, watched Naruto. That's really just all I did today, man. Just relaxing. I mean, I'm here in Thailand now. I'm back in Thailand. It's in the evening time, 6:22 p.m. So it's early Sunday morning for everybody else in the Western world, which is the majority of our audience. All right. But I'm feeling good. Glad to be back in my space. And I feel like, now is a good time to have this episode where we recap, the earthquake scenario. But I think the reason why it's perfect is because shout outs to my boy Tim, my boy from Belgium, Tim Tents, and then also Emilian from Moldova. We got to hang out last night, shoot stories, haven't been able to see those guys in like over a month, but just because, I was busy doing my thing, they were out of the country doing their thing, and just the fact that, we were able to kind of just get back together, get some food, hang out, and just swap stories. And there was a lot of insights that we shared. And in conversations with other people that I have met post earthquake, and the conversations and just hearing just different perspectives from people from all walks of life. There was two girls I met. I forget their names because I had met them as the earthquake had just happened, but they're both from Ghana. They're both from Ghana. Two young girls, both from Ghana. And they're here, two sisters. They're here. They're living in Thailand now. They live in my condo, and they're both teaching in schools. And they spent a lot of their time in Brazil, also in I believe it was Qatar, and now they're in Bangkok. And they've only been here for a little while, but they've been traveling and doing their thing, teaching, right? But I've just met a lot of people. Shout out to Zoe from South Africa that I met at the after the earthquake as well. Well, I say all this to say, I met a lot of people, all walks of life, from different parts of the world, different stages of their life, from young to old or older. And like I said, I think this is the perfect time to just have this conversation, all right? Now, I'll start off by just giving you my recap of how the earthquake and everything went for me, right? Crazy. And it's funny because before we get into the story, I know I feel like I'm all over the place, but before we get into the story, let's just give a moment of silence to everybody that has lost their lives, because as much as, I could laugh about the experience now, there's, thousands of people in Myanmar that lost their lives in this earthquake. The earthquake originally originated from Myanmar. It was an 8.2, and the shocks we got the shocks all the way here in Bangkok. It's one of the farthest tremors. There was a couple of, I think, history things that happened, but before we get into that, moment of silence for everybody that lost their life in Myanmar. There are some people that lost their lives in Thailand, so just a moment of silence. So, the earthquake originated in Myanmar, 8.2, and a couple of records were broken. I believe they said this was like one of the tremors that emanated from the center in Myanmar. This is like one of the farthest reaching tremors that has been recorded. Right. Like I forgot, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I was reading the articles and they were showing like, yo, this is like one of like the biggest, because this thing happened in Myanmar. We felt it's as far away as Bangkok, and we felt like we got a proper earthquake. You would have swore the earthquake happened in Thailand, but it didn't. We just got a tremor, right? It originated in Myanmar, but Laos got hit. China felt it. Like, it was just crazy, right? So the tremor that we got was like a 7.7, measured 7.7. So what happened was I was sleeping. Like, I woke up, did my thing, and it was last week Friday. So Fridays I have radio. And usually if I was in Trinidad, radio is from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. But as I'm on the other side of the world, radio is now 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Right? So usually I might take a little midday nap just to power up for the evening, right? I was sleeping. I had just gone to bed, set my alarm clock for like 2 hours. And next thing you know, like I had properly dozed off, like properly fell asleep. And I wake up. I was probably asleep for like maybe like 20 minutes max, right? And I hear this loud bang. So my eyes open. And whilst my eyes are opening, I heard this loud bang. I have no idea what it was, but I'm seeing, like, if you've seen my IG stories and whatnot, you know that from my bed I have like floor to ceiling windows that overlook the Bangkok skyline, right? Or I have a really nice view from my bedroom, from my bed, really. And I'm just seeing water just being thrown off the roof and coming down, like big, heavy amounts of water just coming down and hitting the ground. And you're hearing it splash against the ground like it was a lot of water. So my first thought was, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe a pipe had burst. And I'm just hearing these loud noises, right? So I'm thinking a pipe probably burst. So I get up, I stand up off the bed, and I immediately like fall to the ground, and I'm like, yo, wait a minute, am I drunk? Am I nauseous? Am I sick? Because the entire room is spinning, right? And the entire room is rocking, and I can't stand up straight. When I realize, I'm like, wait a minute, not this is not me. This is a building actually moving, right? So I open my door and to see, like, is it just me? And like right when I opened my door, like everybody else on my floor opened their doors as well. And everybody's kind of looking around like, oh no, it's not just me. But because a lot of people work with Western times, a lot of times daytime people are sleeping, right? So like when everybody came out, everybody looked like they were still in pajamas. And it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So anywho, we're all looking at each other, and we just start to see the ceiling and the walls just starting to crack, and we're seeing a little bit of debris starting to come down. So we're like, oh no, this is an earthquake because the whole building's rocking. So I jump inside, grab my wallet, I grab my keys, my cards for the condo. I throw on my shoes because I'm about to run. Throw on my shoes. Luckily, my gym shoes I don't have to lace them up. You can slide them on, right? So slide those things on and jump out the door. And as soon as I jump out the door and I close it, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh shoot, my passport. Because forget the wallet. I don't need the wallet. Like my bank cards and stuff like that are on my phone. I have a digital version of that, right? So I didn't necessarily need my wallet. But my passport, man, as soon as it clicked to grab my passport, the door had just closed, and I reached in my pocket to grab my unit key to open up my condo, and I realized I don't have it. What I have is I have the key card for the premises and the amenities and the elevators and all that other stuff. So I'm like, yo, if this building goes down, like everything could be replaced, but I need the passport because there's nothing for me to do. And we don't have an embassy. We don't have a Trinidad and Tobago embassy in Thailand. That's in China. So you can mail your documents and stuff like that there, but that takes time. And you know, how are you getting on a plane if you don't have a passport, right? So I'm like, nah, I got to get my passport. So I try to enter the key. I try to enter the PIN number for my door. And as soon as I tried to press the correct number, and because the entire building is shaking, I pressed the wrong number. I'm like, this is not going to work. And I just hightail it out. So I'm running down the stairs. People are screaming. People are coming from, the highest levels. My tower, there's 3 towers, right? Tower A and B have 25 floors. The pool is on the rooftop of the 25th floor. And then Tower C has, I think, 36 floors. And yeah. So whilst we're running down the stairwell, I'm hearing people just screaming. You're hearing the loud noises. You're feeling the building shake. You can't even run properly. You're seeing the walls cracking. You're seeing the roof, starting to show some cracks and like some debris coming down. And you're like, yo, this is crazy. And all I kept thinking to myself is, these ladies in front of me are not running fast enough. Like, legitimately, I almost threw some people though. Because I'm like, yo, I'm not seeing knees to chest. I don't care if y'all are barefoot or in sandals and I'm in chip shoes. Y'all better pick it up. You gotta run because, yo, as far as we're concerned, this building is coming down and we just did not want to be in it. Oh my God, it was crazy. So in that moment, um, I know I didn't have my passport, and I know there's nobody I know that's awake. So I call my friend in Cambodia, and I'm on video call, and I'm just like, yo, earthquake. Earthquake. Couldn't even say anything else, just earthquake. And she just sees me running. That's all she's seeing. I'm just running. People are running, people are screaming, and I'm just running. But I'm on video call, right? I don't even know why, but just I guess so that somebody knows what's going on. That's not in the country, right? So we get outside. I see one of the pipes had burst, with just spewing water. Seeing water coming up from the sewers. I'm just like, yo, what is going on? This is crazy. Run across the street. Thank God nothing fell on our heads because a lot of buildings, there was a lot of debris falling from the skies. We had a lot of debris fall from our condos as well. Matter of fact, when we finally got to safety and got across the street and all the shaking stopped, everybody's, gathering themselves. Everybody shook up really badly. And everybody kind of collects themselves. And, finally there's only, the Thai people are talking to the Thai people. All the foreigners, obviously just start to talk to each other because, ain't no time to be whipping on Google Translate and whatnot. Like everybody's, trying to just communicate and talk to each other and talk each other through what we just experienced. And met a lot of people, seen a lot of people I'd never seen before that live in my building, but you know how that goes, right? So we're all just talking, and mid conversation, I ask everybody when everybody's calmed down now. I ask everybody, I'm like, yo, anybody managed to grab their passports? And 99% of people said no. Most of them said they didn't even think about that. And 2 people. There was one guy from Russia who was just like, I did. And he's like, when everything was happening, he keeps his, I guess how his place was situated, where he was working from his desk, his passport was in the desk. So when all the rocking happened, he just grabbed it from the desk and ran outside. And then the 2 girls from Guyana had their passports. One of them panicked and ran. The other one had a peace of mind to just grab their bags that had their documents. So, like, they have a bag with all their documents, and she had the peace of mind to grab that before they left. And so she had her and her sister's passports and important documents. And again, the lessons started, right? Right then and there, the lesson started. So we immediately all start talking about preparation, not for another earthquake, but it really brought to light that, yo, you're not in your home country. So how you have to prepare in the event of anything has to be different. All right. So, like I said, we're not thinking next earthquake. We're just thinking, just in general, like if anything happens and you have to, because again, it doesn't have to be an earthquake. It could be, uh, I don't know, it could be a pipe. It could be a pipe that bursts in the building, and the building is flooding out, and who knows, right? And you gotta get out. But anyways, or fire, right? Like anything could happen. The point is that when you're not when you are a foreigner in another country, you have to prepare you have to prepare for emergencies differently. And preparation looks like, do you have the most important thing that you need, which is your passport? Like that needs to be accessible. So, how my condo is set up, I have some storage below my bed. Like my bed frame is just one of those bed frames that's built with storage below the bed. Like, so I have drawers, so I could pull out, and I have all my documents right then and there. Because to me, it made sense because it's a place, you know, kind of inside of the unit, not close to the door. So I mean, when I put it there, I more so was thinking just security. Like it's the most secure right here. Like these are my most important documents. The most secure is me sleeping on it. Put it in the storage below. Put it in the drawer space below my bed, right? And then when we were discussing the preparation, it was the two people that grabbed their passports. Where were they? One was in a bag close to the door, grabbed. The other person was working at their desk. Documents were in the desk. It was just easy for them to just grab it quick and head out the door. And all of us started to think about that, making sure that in case of any emergency, we no longer, because, funny enough, the rest of us that didn't have our passports all had the same process. Like we have it in a place that's secure where, let's just say if a break-in happened, it's not in a easily accessible place for you to just break in and just go and grab the documents. But that's just our Western mindset thinking. Like you just don't have your passport by the front of your door. Like you're not doing that, right? But in the conversations with everybody, we were all thinking to ourselves, yo, that's a Western survival tactic, just not having your documents easily accessible. But as a foreigner in a different country, and this is not this is not like we were in a hotel and an earthquake happened and your passport and stuff is locked up in the safe. Like, no, like at home, and we are well secured in terms of security. Like, we have a lot of every condo in Bangkok has a heck of a lot of security. And I always joke to myself, I'm like, yo, with you don't really like Thailand's really safe, and the amount of security that they have, do you need it? But hey, maybe it's safe because they have so I don't know, right? It's safe because of a combination of reasons. But the point is, we have a lot of security in our condos. You have ground security. You can't get into the building without either facial recognition or key cards, because a lot of the buildings are facial recognition. You can't get into the building without a key card or facial recognition. You can't get up the elevators or get into the stairwells without facial recognition or your key cards. And you can't get into, on top of that, you can't even, like all of our key cards and facial recognition only give you access to the common areas in your floor. So you can't even go on the other floors that you're not supposed to be on. And then you have to have a key card to get into the condo, or a PIN number. So there's a lot of things where you're pretty secure, right? So you can afford as a foreigner to have your documents easily accessible. So that was the big takeaway with after the earthquake was, we need to make our documents accessible because right now we're not allowed to go back into the building, and we had no idea whether we were going to be allowed to go back into the building that night. And then on top of that, we were all expecting aftershocks, which obviously sensibly made going back into the building, it just didn't make it smart at the time. So we were all just kind of there. We were outside for I think 2 hours before we got the nod to say, hey, the initial checks from the ground staff, they had brought in, I think, an engineer from the company that manages the building. They gave the initial okay to come back in, all right? But naturally, nobody was staying, or the majority of people were not going to stay there. Everybody came into the place. They packed a suitcase or suitcases, grabbed their documents, and left the building immediately. And everybody made plans to go either out of town, to a hotel, or leave the country for a couple of days, and then make their way back as they see fit. So my initial reaction was, let me get out of this city. Let me. I just came back from Cambodia. Let me go back to Cambodia because I know I could do visa on arrival. I know how to get there. I started looking at flights, and they had suspended all flights in the airports in Thailand that night. Right. So this is 5 o'clock at this point. All flights are suspended for the rest of the day. And I'm like, where could you go? You couldn't even get a taxi to go anywhere because it was just so much pandemonium. You couldn't get a taxi, couldn't get a bike taxi. It was crazy trying to maneuver. And while the flights were down, I started to think about where could I go on bus. And Cambodia made sense because when I checked one of the applications that allows us to book flights and book buses, flights were grounded, but buses were allowed to move. So I'm like, all right, let me go back to Cambodia because I know that I can get a visa on arrival, and there's a bus leaving tonight. I can get out, right? So later on that night, I jumped on a bus, and that's exactly what I did. 12-hour bus ride, headed out to Cambodia, did a visa on arrival, was able to get in, no problem. Now, it's in that just being able to leave, talking to other people who, again, different walks of life, different countries, people who are single, people with families, but they work remote. Everybody that I spoke with had the similar train of thought where they really appreciated in that moment. They have created this life that is digital, and it allows them to live a nomadic lifestyle. And why everyone appreciated it in that moment is because they weren't stuck. People were freaked out about the earthquake, yes, but everybody was focused on, okay, I just need to go inside, get my passport, grab some things, grab my laptop, and they're going somewhere else. And again, not everybody left the country. Some people went to other cities. Some people stayed in Bangkok and just went to low-rise hotels, or, who had friends and could stay by a friend where they know that their place was, untouched. Great. But in that moment, there wasn't any panic. And I made note of that. Nobody was panicking. Everybody was they just need to get their stuff. Once they get their stuff, they know that they can leave, go here, go there, and they're good. And that's what everybody did. People left and went to other cities. Some people left to other countries. The next day, when I started to look at social media and start to look at what are some of the other people that I follow in Thailand. What are they doing? And a lot of people left the country, and some people even left the country permanently. Like they've been living in Thailand for the last year and change, year, 2 years. People have been living here for a while, started to really build a life here. And the earthquake, and the thing is with the earthquake, right? This was the strongest tremor because they don't get earthquakes in Thailand. This was the strongest tremor that they have felt in over 100 years. Just to show you, like, people moved here because they know that Thailand doesn't get natural disasters. Floods happen, yes, when we've gotten heavier rainfall, when there's been heavier rainfalls that have happened in some of the islands and some of the places down south. Yes, they've gotten flooded out. Yes, there's been, damages. Like, yes, there's been floods from heavy to run. But to say tsunamis, earthquakes, these aren't things that happen on a regular basis in Thailand that, other Asian countries are pretty known for, right? So, anywho, there wasn't any panic. But seeing the next day, seeing some of the people that I follow, seeing them leave, like some people really got shook. Now I'm stressing it and I'm putting it like this: there wasn't panic, and the panic and the not panicking came from the fact that they just had to pack a suitcase and they jumped on a plane and they left. Right? So yes, the earthquake shook them up, but they didn't panic. It was like, it wasn't what am I going to do? I'm stuck. It was no, they just jumped on the plane and they left. And like I'm watching this happen. And to me, I think that's incredible. And I think it's incredible because, and I'm going to dive into that a bit more as we continue to go on, but I think it's incredible because you really have options. You really have flexibility. And it wasn't one of those things where, think about all the people that we know. Now, the funny thing is, right? People, they publish this on the news in the Caribbean. They publish on the news in Trinidad. And I saw the world of comments about, what he doing out there? Why, and Asia's known for earthquakes, and Asia's known for this, and Asia's known for that. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, that's why I'm never going to leave, I'm never going to leave the island. I'm not going to leave, Jamaica. I'm not going to leave Trinidad. Like people were straight up saying like, this is why we're not living in all these other countries because we don't got to deal with that. And I thought it was crazy because we deal with that and so much worse. Like I thought it was kind of crazy reading people saying these things. Like, why are you saying things like, this is why you're not going to leave Trinidad because we don't get these. Of course we get these things. We have been saying for the 10 years that I've been there, we have been saying and we have been saying Trinidad is going to get a big one. We have seen our neighbors in the other Caribbean islands, countries that have been wiped out due to hurricanes. We've seen this. I don't know why people saying they're not going to leave because we get this in our area, and we get this in our region. And we're expecting a big one at some point in time. It just so happens God's a Trinity and he loves us dearly. Why he hasn't given us a big one yet? But we've seen what floods do to the country as well. So we get these things, right? So anywho, seeing people get on a plane, get to another country, and have that flexibility to just leave, insane. I thought this is what real freedom looks like. The fact that things could happen and you have options and you can just pivot at that moment's notice. I think that's a level of power and freedom that most people, you would only think that, only the rich could do that. Only the rich could just upend their life and just move. What do you mean regular people? People who are single, people who are young, people who are old, people with families can just do that. Obviously, it's easier for the person who, doesn't have a family, and it's only just themselves that they got to worry about. But the point is, I have people here with their families. One of my boys from Russia, brand new baby just born last week. I'm watching him and his wife. They have 2 kids. First kid is like 5 or 6. The other kid is now come out a couple days ago. And I'm just like, you guys are the first people that my mind ran on when I thought about all this crazy stuff happening. But even still, even they were like, yeah, we just grabbed the baby and we took off, right? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna go here afterwards. Pick up the 2 kids, grab some things, and they went to another city. But even still, they had options, right? And they've lived in multiple countries as well. So they're accustomed to this level of freedom. So again, things that I'm learning and seeing for myself and play out in real time, post earthquake. Now, nobody's life missed a beat, which I thought was, just freeing. People weren't like, nobody I spoke to, and this is the crazy thing, right? Nobody I spoke to was thinking about, oh wow, we're gonna miss work, we're gonna lose a lot of money, because the only thing they needed was their laptop. Like they knew, like every single person knew that nothing changes. They just need to get their passport and their laptop and they're good. I thought that was insane. And seeing it happening in real time, right? One of the girls that I met from California, she's from California, her fiance's from Australia. And I met them and they didn't grab anything. Like they didn't grab a purse, a wallet, nothing, but they had their credit cards and their debit cards on their phone. So they were able to just walk into 7-Eleven. They purchased some food, they purchased some chargers for their phone, and they're like, yo, we just need to get in and get our passports and our laptop and we're good. That's a level of freedom that, like I said, seeing it play out in real time, having the conversation, seeing people's thought processes on the entire scenario, on the entire situation, I was like, this validates so much for me, right? I'll give it to you like this. When people, excuse me, throat was tickling. But when you create that life where everything you do is digital and you have that location freedom, the options give you a sense of calm that regardless of whatever's happening around you, you're going to be fine. You ever be in a relationship where somebody really just knows their worth and they're like, man, I don't need to take this shit, I'm gone? When you're a digital nomad and when you've created your life that just allows for that flexibility, whatever is happening, the fact that you have the ability to say, I don't have to deal with this and I'm gone, and I could just change my scenario. And watching that play out in real time, like I said, that just validated a lot of things for me. It gave me just another level of confidence because I can do it too. I did it, right? So I wasn't just seeing other people just say, yeah, I'm out, I'm going over here. I'm watching some people just, they moved out of the country altogether. Like packed their bags and jumped on a plane and moved out the country. I'm like, these are things you don't even think could happen. So again, I say seeing it happening in real time did a lot for me. Now, what else did I learn? What other lessons came up? A big one. We got to talking last night when I'm hanging out with my boys. We got to talking about home ownership, right? And how home ownership was, and still is to a very large extent, still a symbol of success more than anything. And in talking with everybody, all the conversations when we were talking about what are we gonna do about our living situations and our condos, the deposits, who just paid rent. Like I had just paid rent like 2 days before the earthquake, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna be here, right? But everybody was like, the majority of people were like, they don't even care about the deposit. If the condo isn't where they feel safe when they go check it out, then they're just leaving. They don't care about the deposit. And everybody was like, they might move to a different city or somewhere else or whatever. But like when it came to the conversation of their houses, like again, like there was just no panic. It was just, man, forget the deposit. They'll just move. Like they don't care about that, right? But then when me, Tim, and Emilion were sitting down and really talking about it, like Tim owned his house in Belgium and he had sold it before he decided to travel the world. And he's like, that was the best decision I ever made. And he's like, and now after the earthquake, he's like, I'm really happy I don't own a house. And we got to talking about that because, whilst all the digital nomads were like, man, forget the deposit. Like, we'll just go and move to another city or move to a low rise condo or move to a house or, they have options. Tim is like, I wouldn't want to be a homeowner right now. And think about that for a second. Who are the people that are always left holding the bag at the end of a natural disaster? It doesn't matter where in the world you are. Who are the people that are left holding the bag? It's always the homeowners. You're out of pocket. How much is insurance covering for you? Is insurance going to cover this or cover that for you? And just going through that entire process of getting, some form of reimbursement to go in and do your repairs and hope that the insurance company is going to reimburse you. And then when you look at what happened in California with the LA fires and whatnot. I don't know if you've seen the documentaries, and I'm not going to go into it because I can't speak to it, to a level where I'm 100% comfortable, but you can go check it out for yourself. But in California, all of the insurance companies were packing up shop and closed down and canceling policies because of the fires. And now I believe there's only like a state-owned insurance company in California. But go look at the insurance company situation with the LA fires. And again, the insurance companies smelled a rat. They saw they're going to be having to pay out billions and billions of dollars in damages. They didn't want no parts. They started to cancel policies. A lot of them even packed up shop and moved out of California. All right. So insurance isn't always, guaranteed, especially when natural disasters come into play. So who's left holding the bag? It's the homeowners. So our condo did an amazing job at getting engineers out. Even in our condo application, you can now schedule an engineer to come out and inspect your specific unit. So my inspection's happening tomorrow. I already booked it. They're coming to check out the condo, and then the landlord's coming in, and the engineers are going to be here. They're going to do a full inspection of my unit, and then give the assessment to the landlord, right? But even when I booked the assessment, and me and the landlord were talking, or whatever, I had told him I was in Cambodia, right? And I didn't tell him that I came back, but he asked me a question, and I was like, that's random. But I thought about it. I'm like, that makes sense. He asked me, he's like, hey, are you planning to come back to Thailand at all? And in my mind, I was like, what do you mean am I planning to come back? Of course I'm coming back of course I'm coming back to Thailand. What are you talking about? But like I said, I thought about it. I'm like, that makes sense. Because so many people left and didn't come back. And now, not only is the landlords, they got to go and now repair, because a lot of people's condos got some heavy damages, right? They got to go through the process, get the insurance money, then they got to go and get the unit fixed up. And then they have to go and now try to get another person to come back in that unit. Landlords are left holding the bag every single time. So what did the earthquake and being a digital nomad teach? What was the lesson learned? Now, I'm not going to say this is right or wrong. This is just a perspective. Right? It's a perspective contrary to popular belief with regards to home ownership. But in today's day and age where things are happening so fast, and I really believe that you have to prioritize flexibility in order to, move with the changing of the tide. When it comes to home ownership, I don't think home ownership is the way to go anymore, because in a situation like this earthquake, all the nomads could have, they're the ones with all the options. Pick up and leave, go somewhere else, find a different place. All right. Even if some of the landlords are telling people, oh no, your place is fine, your place is livable. If the tenant didn't feel safe, they said, yo, F it, I'm gone. Like, they don't have to be here. They're gone. Deposit be damned. Most people that I know said deposit be damned and just left. Because they don't want to be in a space where they're not feeling 100%. But the landlord still has to get the place fixed. They gotta, and again, whether they get it, they get reimbursed, whether they get insurance money is up to, it's never 100%, period. Regardless of where you are in the world, it's never 100%. But they're gonna have to go and figure that out. But all the nomads, what they got to figure out is a much easier decision. I don't want to be here. Pack my suitcase, I'm gone. And so, homeownership now, yes, homeownership is going to have their. I'm not debating whether you should own a home or not. Just giving you my perspective. It's an alternative point of view. For me, homeownership doesn't make sense because when you're prioritizing flexibility and you're prioritizing being a digital nomad, you don't want to have things that anchor you to any one place. There's many other assets that you could invest in. There's many other investments that you can do. There's many other assets you can go ahead and acquire. You don't have to go and acquire a home. Much easier to rent, live in the places that you want to live in the countries, the cities that you want to live in, and when you need to be able to make a move, for whatever your reasons are, you can just pick up and leave. And so, even in leaving, like just the fact that I was able to pack 2 suitcases, and I'm like, oh my God, I have 99% of everything I own in these 2 suitcases. And I was gone. Like it didn't even feel right at first because I'm like, nah, I know I have more stuff. Like, what else am I missing? All my stuff is in 2 suitcases. But it's built like that by design now. So now I can just live wherever I want. And I'm not tied to any one thing. And so not having to manage a property, not having to think about, repairs, the damages, all these additional things, those are now responsibilities of the homeowners. But people who are nomads, this is one less thing that they even have to think about. And again, all the money that they're saving from home ownership and all of home ownership's hidden costs, they can now reinvest those monies into something that is just more in line with their lifestyle, more in line. Again, you don't have to, a home is not the only asset to own, right? Not the only investment to make. There's many other assets you can get. There's many other investments that you can do that allow you to be flexible and portable. So that was a big, big lesson. And we really talked about home ownership and pros, cons. But again, all 3 of us that were chilling, we're all nomads, right? So we all agree. we all agree. Home ownership is not for us. And the earthquake scenario, not dealing with all of the things that come with it, load off all of our minds. And guess what? All of us had been gone for the past month, and then the earthquake happened, and we all ran away to somewhere else and then came back when everything was good. Matter of fact, both of them guys got new places. I'm the only one that came back to my own place, but that's because my place sustained very minimal damage, right? Now, the engineer could come tomorrow and say something completely different, and then I have the ability to pick up and leave. It's the landlord that's going to have to figure this thing out. So again, this is just another lesson as to, at least for me, what validated some things that I've been thinking about with respects to just how I've been crafting my life. And so one of the things that you have to really consider if you are going the route of living that digital nomad lifestyle is changing your definition of success. Because the people around you are still going to look at you and they're going to say things to you that are going to make you feel a bit awkward. people are going to continuously tell you that a house is an asset. Get a house, get a vehicle, settle down. So like they're still going like that's still the acceptable life route among society. And so being able to, if you're going to be walking this digital nomad lifestyle, you're going to have to challenge your old beliefs of success. That looks like home ownership, setting up roots somewhere, material milestones, fancy new cars, clothes, watches, this, that, and the third. And you're going to have to position yourself for flexibility, for freedom and alignment. And those are going to have to be your new markers of prosperity in 2025. So if you decide that you do want to be a digital nomad, what success looks like to you needs to be how flexible your life is, how much freedom you have, and does everything align with what you are trying to do. So for me, the fact that I was able to just pick up and leave and nothing changed for me, that for me is just a marker of success for the life I'm trying to build. And I value that more than owning a condo, owning a home, right? The fact that the world is changing so rapidly, where literally, and I know all of you can relate to this, every single time anytime I get a Twitter notification, it always says breaking news, and it's always coming from news around Donald Trump making a new announcement or Elon Musk doing something different. And somehow, some way, those two guys, every time they announce something, is impacting my life. It's impacting my life. I'm nowhere near, but everything that they do and everything they say impacts all of us and impacts us, all of us in so many different ways. And so, because there's so many things changing and in flux, how do you know what is the best route moving forward? And if your life isn't built to be flexible, to be able to go left or go right, depending on the decisions of all these other people who are, like I said, they make announcements, they make decisions, and they impact us. Look, Donald Trump made an announcement the other day where he's like, they're going to be revoking many naturalized citizens and green cards and sending them back to their countries. Crazy. Even when you thought just getting citizenship, you were good. No, they're going to be revoking citizenship and green cards. So, this flexibility, being able to work from anywhere, live anywhere, earn from anywhere, is now becoming such a priority, because now all of the countries around the world are all in flux. They're all in flux. And you have no idea where the best place to live is. You used to know what it was. You used to know. But with all of the changes that are happening right now with every single country, look, Donald Trump announced tariffs. That's impacting everybody globally. You make, like, your business, like even in Trinidad, we're watching businesses predict how much more it's going to cost for them to run their business, and they may or not be able to run their business anymore because of the tariffs. So now that flexibility you need it. You absolutely need it. And being able to create the life of flexibility so that now you can say, hey, with all the changes happening in the world, are we living in the best country that aligns with what we're trying to do? With all of the changes happening in the world today, are we living in the best country that aligns with what we want out of family life? Is this a country that is, on the right track moving forward. Like, that is the level of thinking that you have to have now. Patriotism be damned at this point. As much as everybody would like to stand here and be like, we're patriots and we're going to stay, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for everybody to say some people are going to have to go. And they're going to have to go. They're going to have to forge new relationships. They're going to have to conquer new countries and do things and create pathways for other people to do that. Not everybody can stay. And because the world is changing so much, countries' visions and how they earn and, the lives that they create for their citizens, all these things are changing. All of it is changing. You know how many people that have left the U.S.? You know how many people left the U.S. that are living right here in my building? Hey, why'd you leave? Don't like where the U.S. is going. Simple as that. Don't like the direction of my country. Found one that aligns with what I want. And guess what? They're still contributing to the country because they still work for they still working for companies in the country. Well, Americans still got to pay their taxes even though they're living in another country. All right? Look at me. I'm here in Thailand, but all the work I do is Caribbean-wide. And all the things that I'm learning, I'm still pouring back. So again, not everybody can stay. Some of us got to go. Some of our missions are not within our home country. Some of us have to go out. And now just might be the best time to do that because the technology is there. The abilities to work from anywhere, earn from anywhere, and still contribute back home are very different today than they were 10, 20 years ago. But you are going to have to sit down and think about, does this country align with what I want for my life? And if the current country doesn't, if the home country doesn't, then you got to start looking at your options because you can always contribute. You can always contribute. But you can't contribute if you're struggling. If you're struggling financially, if you're struggling mentally, if you're just not, if the country you're in is not giving you what you need to be the best version of you, you're dying. You're literally dying inside. And you're never going to be able to produce your best work if you yourself aren't taken care of. And we don't talk enough about how much the place, the city, and the country that you are living in impacts that. It impacts that. So, the earthquake and everything that followed taught me a lot of lessons, validated a lot of beliefs that I've had. Being able to see other people react and how they dealt with it validated a lot of things for me, lessons I've learned, and I think it was lessons for a lot of other people as well. Having the location freedom, the time freedom, and then being able to, again, earn a higher currency, but living in an economy where that currency goes a long way to give you a level of financial freedom. This is a direction that more and more people are learning and leaning into. And I definitely wanted to just share my thoughts and perspectives on that. Because like I said, this entire thing was just lessons learned and validation. I'm a foreigner in another country. Make sure my documents and stuff are easily accessible so that any emergency happens, it's right there. Really focus on being flexible, having that location freedom, getting into the habit of really looking at more world news and trying to keep up with, what's happening in different countries. I mean, you don't need to overload yourself, but look at countries enough from, what is happening in that country, and is this a country that you could see yourself being in? And I think that's what everybody should do at this point. I think everybody should start doing research on what are the top 3 countries that you could move to that give you everything that you need? And how would you go about, or what do you need in order to migrate there? And I think everybody should be doing that and understand what is needed if you had to move there, how you would go about, like, start thinking about that. Because again, if the country you are living in is no longer aligning with what you want for your life. And the thing is, right? And here's the crazy thing. Like, what I'm saying to some people is going to sound like you're just talking crap. But bro, countries are changing with announcements of a tweet. That's how crazy the time is we are living. Donald Trump could announce mass deportation. And guess what? Deportation's happening. Homie could announce tariffs, global tariffs. And countries, look at, I shared this on Facebook and LinkedIn. Singapore Prime Minister Mr. Lawrence Wong had to do a national address and let people know, hey, we are in the beginning stages of a global trade war, and this is going to impact the entire world as you know it. Entire world as you know it. If you are not taking the time to start looking at, again, even if you're not getting into global politics and whatever, like, I'm not asking you to do all that. I'm asking you to start thinking about 3 countries you can move to if the country that you are in right now, with all of the changes happening, if that country you are in right now is no longer feasible or aligning with what you want for your life, then you need to start looking at alternative options. But you know who has the most options? The digital nomads, because they have created that life that's not tied to a location. So now when anything happens, if a country is no longer aligning with what they want, they can leave and their life isn't disrupted. The way they earn, the most important thing is how they earn isn't disrupted. Kids are adaptable. And all the people that I know here that are nomads, when we talk about their kids and whatever, you know, the fact that their kids can say, hey, they preferred breakfast in Nepal over breakfast in Thailand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're listening to these kids talk about their own experiences and the people that they've made, the experiences they've had. You're like, God damn, you 6 and you've lived in 3-4 different countries. And you've just got to experience so many different things. So we are always thinking about stability. But if you're stable in terrible conditions, that's doing more harm than you being able to move and put your kids in the best possible situations every single time. I have met people here who have moved 4 different countries. Their kids are 6 and 7, and they've lived in 4 different countries. And why did they move? Because the places that they were in were not suitable to be raising kids in. And there was a lot of stuff that were happening. But they maneuver until better could be done. Again, I'm not telling you to go and do that. I'm just saying it's happening, and the fact that it's possible. It's just possible because of the signs of the times that we are in right now. So start thinking, again, alternative point of view. If you want to go the traditional route, do your thing. This is Digipreneur FM. This entire podcast is alternative views. Right? Alternative from the traditional norms that we know. But now, for me, the big takeaway is doubling down on your flexibility, ensuring that your location freedom is a priority, ensuring that, now I myself need to start really learning at what are all of the new types of assets and investments that I can get into that keep me flexible, that don't tie me into any one location, that don't tie me to something physical like owning a house or owning a condo, where anything could happen and I'm the one that's out of pocket or out on the limb to go and get all these things, done. So that's where my priorities are going to be. That's my thought process, that's my train of thought. Meeting all the people who have that similar train of thought, who were able to, like I said, validate and also just give me additional insights and just see how they've handled all this. All this was a big learning experience for me, and I'm happy and grateful and thankful that I was able to survive a 7.7 earthquake. Oh my goodness, do I gotta? Yeah! We survived a 7.7 earthquake. You know, that wasn't on my bingo cards this year. Survived that, lived to tell the tale. Great. Learned some valuable lessons, got some things validated for me. But all in all, I hope that this episode gives you something to think about, something to work towards. Because many of us are not living the life that we want. And we're not living the life that we want because we're tied to so many things. You're tied to your physical job. You're tied to your city and country because you have a house. You have a car. You have a lot of bills that you don't know how to navigate to get rid of. So start thinking about that. And start small. Start by learning skills that allow you to be digital. Just jump on Google, type in top digital skills, top careers in AI, and reverse engineer from there. Look at what some of the industries that are booming right now. If you haven't read the Future of Jobs report put out by the World Economic Forum, go read that, because that breaks on all of the industries that are experiencing a boom for the next 5 years that you could now start to go learn the skill sets. Go get, whether it's a short courses, certifications, degrees, whatever you got to do, but go learn one of the new skill sets that put you into one of the jobs, one of the industries that are on the rise. Then start looking for remote jobs in those spaces. My boy from Moldova, man, the man is an engineer working for a cancer research firm remotely. There's a lot of things you can do. But are you getting the necessary skill sets to be able to tap into those things? That's step one. Then you could, once you figured out how you're earning, everything else can come into play. But I think everybody right now should start, even if you're looking at, regular jobs that are not digital, I think everybody should just start to look at, think about, does the country I'm physically in right now, does it align with the lifestyle that I see for myself? If it's not, cool. But also start looking at 3 other countries that you could move to that give you what you want. Understand the process to move there, to get there. Understand as much about those process as you can, and make sure it's not the US, Canada, the UK, because all 3 of those countries don't want no foreigners right now. They don't even think about it. And there's better places to move to right now as well too. So start your research. Don't get caught with your hand in the cookie jar. Or don't get caught with your pants down. Whichever saying works best for you in this point in time. But being able to just pick up, go to another country. When it was safe to come back, I came back. The fact that my landlord could ask, are you coming back to Thailand? And I'm like, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm back now. But just shows you the sign of the times. And if you decide to go through the route of becoming a digital nomad, start thinking about what does a successful life look like to you? Because it's not going to be the house, the cars, all that good stuff anymore. But redefine what your version of success looks like. For me, success looks like location freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. And I don't need to be a millionaire to have to be financially free, but just being able to earn a higher currency, live in a place where that goes in my favor, so it gives me more of a cushion, and I'm not living month to month, paycheck to paycheck. That's a level of financial freedom as well. So those are my markers of success, and I'm going to double down on that, and I'm going to continue to learn how to do location freedom better, how to do time freedom better, how to get better financial freedom. I'm gonna learn and get those things better, but I have the start for those things. And that was all validated for me this week, and just meeting everybody else and having these conversations, again, validated everything for me. So I hope this podcast gave you something to really think about. All right. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please don't forget to like the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, drop a star rating, 5 stars. Woohoo, please, thanks. Rate how you see fit. But most importantly, please keep the reviews coming. Drop the reviews. I don't ask for much, but drop the reviews. The reviews continue to help grow the Digipreneur FM family all across the globe. Okay? Also, April 12th, so this weekend coming, the Saturday, April 12th and Sunday, April 13th, I have the digital revenue roadmap workshop. I will link to that in the show notes. We had to change. It was going to happen last week, but we had to change the times because of the earthquake and whatever. But that's going to be happening next weekend, so you guys can join. Link for the workshop will be in the show notes as well. Pick Saturday or Sunday, jump in and join. All the details will be at the show notes. Click on the link. Come learn how to make money or learn how to add those digital revenue sources to your business or to your brand. We're going to be really exploring that. Don't forget to check out KarenRose.com to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. And, check out the Digipreneur.fm website to continue to stay up to date with the podcast. That is all from me on this Sunday evening, but happy Sunday morning for everybody else on the western side of the world. And enjoy your Sunday. And take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Karen Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Karen Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.